Hey everybody, welcome back to Dino Talk Sports, where today we're going to be doing my Week 2 NFL Power Rankings after a crazy week of football. Now, before we start the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share the video around so we can help this channel grow and get it to where we want to be. And without further ado, let's get started. Unlike last week, we're going to start with the bottom and go up. And the bottom this week is the Chicago Bears, dropping 5 spots after getting dominated on primetime football against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, Justin Fields has completed 15 total passes through 2 weeks. That offense is abysmal. The defense is all right, but the defense is well coached, but there's not enough high-end talent to make it competitive. The Bears are going to stay at the bottom for now. The Falcons didn't move up or move down after a weird outing against the Rams where they had a chance to win 28-3 down. Coincidence? I think not. The Panthers moved down 2 spots after losing to the 2-0 Giants. Can you believe that? Then we got the Texans dropping 3 spots. I thought they looked all right against a badly coached Broncos team, but considering they lost and some teams surprised me this week, they're going to have to move down for me. 2 of the teams that surprised me this week have to be Dallas and the Jets. The Jets won last seconds against the Browns, and they had no right winning that game, but through bad clock management and a couple things going the Jets' way, they pulled it out. That's a solid roster that I'm glad got a win. Next, we got the Cowboys, who, they're out their starting quarterback. They have no right beating the Bengals, but they did. That defense is for real. Micah Parsons is a defensive player of the year candidate, and hats off for Cooper Rush for playing an okay game of football and leading that team to a win. Next, we got the Seattle Seahawks, who looked like the team that we thought they'd look like going into the season. Playing against the Broncos, the emotion was high. They were playing their old quarterback. They wanted to win that game. And I'm not saying they didn't want to win against San Francisco, but San Francisco's just a much better team than them. And it looked like that on Sunday. And, what are you going to do? You just move into next week. Next, we got the Jaguars, who just decimate the Colts at home. I mean, the Colts are just terrible in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence looked great. That defense is flying around. You can't ask for much more as a Jags fan, and I think you're going to be competitive going into this week against the Chargers. Not saying they'll win, but there's a chance. Next up, we have the Giants at 24, moving up 1 spot, beating the Panthers and becoming 2-0. Now, I get it, they're 2-0, but this isn't a standings power ranking. This is how I think the team is, and they beat a bad Panthers team. They beat a bad Tennessee team. I think this is a well-coached football team. Don't get me wrong. I think you guys are going in a great direction with Brian Daboll. However, there's not enough talent on that team to put it higher for right now. And you guys might end up going 3-0. It's kind of crazy. I would never expected that going into the season. Next, we have the Colts, who dropped 5 spots after, again, getting decimated in Jacksonville. I don't know what's up with this team. I mean, Matt Ryan looks really bad. Their left tackle situation is bad. Their defense isn't doing what they're usually doing. I mean, I hope they fix it quick, because I was high on the Colts, but now not so much. Next, again, we got the Titans. These are the 2 best teams in that division, and they're all the way down at 22 and 23. The Titans just got destroyed against the Bills. Bills beat them 41-7. It wasn't a challenge. Their O-line's bad. Tannehill's bad. They don't have a receiving group. They have some good young pieces in the receiving group, but it's just not quite there yet. I mean, I don't expect them to bounce back anytime soon either, but there's a chance anyone wins the division. For me right now, it could be Jacksonville. Next, we have Washington dropping 2 spots after getting beat by the Detroit Lions. They tried the rally late, but it didn't quite work out that way. The Detroit Lions are a great team. Not great, but they are a good team. People are sleeping on them, so I'm not going to down them too much for this, but they do drop 2 spots. Next, we got the Pats, who go up 3 spots after beating the Steelers. It was a really, really ugly game, but, I mean, the defense came out when it needed to. The offense had little spurts. That Nelson Aguilar catch was amazing, but they definitely got some things to work on. But I think all the teams below them should lose to the Patriots. Next, we got the Arizona Cardinals moving up 1 spot after beating the Raiders in a game they had no business winning. I mean, the Raiders were up 20-0 at halftime. It was bad play calling at the end. I mean, the Cardinals looked how I thought they were going to look. A bad team that will get willed to wins by Kyler Murray. Next, we got the Broncos, who dropped 2 spots despite the win. I mean, this team looks so poorly coached. I didn't like I didn't like Nathaniel Hackett going into the season as a head coach at all. I said it on TikTok, I said it on multiple platforms. I thought it was just a bad coaching hire, and it turned out worse than I even thought it would. He doesn't know what he's doing out there. Next, we got the Browns, who I'm not going to move down, but I'm not moving them up. I mean, the Browns looked like the Browns. They ran the ball well. They should have won that game 31-17, but it was just a weird sequence at the end that I could dock them for it, but I'm not going to. I still think this is a decent team, and they'll stay decent at 17. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers dropping 1 spot after losing to the New England Patriots. They need to bench Mitch Trubisky immediately. That experiment is over. I'm not the highest person on Kenny Pickett, but he's got to perform better than Mitch. They probably would have won that game if they had a decent starting quarterback playing. Next, we have the Lions, who go up 7 spots, our highest risers of the week. You might call me crazy, but this offense is explosive. The defense played lights out in the first half, at least. The Washington Commanders tried to rally back later in the game, but they couldn't. The Lions held on to a win. That would have been heartbreaking if they didn't. They've had enough of that already. This O-line is top 5. They have a great receiving core. DeAndre Swift is making plays. I mean, this is a deadly team that a lot of people are not going to want to play. Next, we have the Raiders, who kind of have the same dilemma as the Browns, except I think it was worse for them considering, they just didn't do anything in the second half. They went up 20-0 in the first half and then did absolutely nothing. I want to drop them, but I do still think they're better than all the teams below them, so I'm going to keep them right here. But Josh McDaniels has got to figure this thing out, and I expect them to bounce back against Tennessee next week. Next, we have our biggest fallers of the week, the Cincinnati Bengals, who lost to a Dakless Cowboys team. They have to figure things out in Cincinnati if they want to make the playoffs. I personally didn't have them making it this year, but I also didn't have them losing to a Dakless Cowboys team. I mean, it's not a personnel thing. It's a coaching thing. Zach Taylor isn't that great of a head coach. He might be one of the worst head coaches this year. His play calling has been atrocious. You're hoping things turn around in Cincinnati, but I do expect them to fall even more this year. Next, we have the Saints, who drop a spot. That defense looked good. It gave Tom Brady fits, but man, that offense didn't. They win against probably the best defensive unit in the league, maybe second behind the Bills. But Jameis Winston he loved throwing to his old Tampa Bay guys, I'll tell you that much. Next, we have the Rams, who go up a spot. They beat a bad Falcons team, and they barely hold on at the end of the game to win. That shouldn't be happening against a team like the Falcons, but they did win. They got back on track. The offense looked better than it did in week 1 against a great Bills defense. So you're happy if you're a Rams fan, and they move up 1 spot. Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers, who, Trey Lance got injured. That's a bad thing. You never want that for someone. However, the San Francisco 49ers have a higher floor than they did yesterday. They have a higher floor today than they did yesterday. That's just the case. Jimmy G is just a better thrower of the football right now. He's not anywhere as dynamic, but I think Jimmy G keeps this team as a playoff team, and I feel way better about him than I did last week when they were playing in the rain with Trey Lance. Next, we have the Ravens, who suffered heartbreak when my Dolphins went in and came back 21 points down in the fourth quarter. But Lamar Jackson played a almost perfect game of football. He had about 400 yards total. He ran for 100, threw for 300, had 4 total touchdowns, I believe it was. That defense just needs to figure some things out, and I think they will. This is a well-coached team, and I expect them to rise up as the season goes on. Lastly, we have the top 8 teams in the NFL, and a lot of it stayed about the same, but there are some risers and some fallers. We'll start with the first riser, which are the number 8 Green Bay Packers, who got back on track against the worst team in the league, the Chicago Bears, on primetime football. They only move up a spot again because they beat a bad team, but they got back on track offensively. They ran the ball really well. Aaron Rodgers looked good. The offensive line did better than it did in week 1. However, they got some things they got to work on still. Next, we have the Vikings, who fall 3 spots after getting manhandled against the Eagles on primetime television. Kirk Cousins just, he doesn't perform in primetime, and I should have realized that. I should have had them lowered because of that feeling. But this is still a good Vikings team. This defense has some stuff it needs to work on. However, I think it'll get better as the season moves along. Don't quote me on that, but I think it will. Justin Jefferson will not have another night like he did against Darius Slay throughout the season. I promise you that. Next, we got my Dolphins, who move up 4 spots after having an amazing comeback against the Ravens. It's not just the comeback, it's that the passing game looked phenomenal. Tua throws for 6 touchdown passes, and I'm not ready to crown him as the best quarterback in the league just yet, but it's a very positive step forward. Defense has some things it's got to work out before they face Buffalo next week. Next, we got the Bucs, who, again, offensively, they didn't do great. However, the defense looks phenomenal. I think it'll carry this team to go even further. Chargers drop a spot after losing to the Chiefs. What are you going to do? They only drop a spot because the Eagles did so well beating the Vikings on primetime television, which I just talked about. Jalen Hurts looks great. The defense looks great. The offensive line is the best in the NFL. Not much more you can ask for as an Eagles fan. Next, we got the Chiefs, who stay in their spot after beating the Chargers. Patrick Mahomes is just him. Andy Reid is just him. This team is really good. And, of course, we have the Bills, who decimate the Titans. There's not much to say about the Bills. This is just the best team in football right now. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry about this getting uploaded about 5 minutes before the Browns-Steelers game. But remember to like, subscribe, share the video. I hope you guys have a great day.